you see, throughout time, the different generations, how it compounds. Everything is compounding. It's not that you're starting with a new person from zero, and that's what you're saying. We have, the physical evolution that happens through a lot of time. But maybe the way that we can't measure, the material and the spiritual dimensions in the same maybe time frame. But there is evolution, and that's how I see time. That time gives you this structure where you go from potential to actual, from what could be to what is. And I see that that evolution that you're talking about, in which you perfectly stated, it's not only physical. If you look at a human being, yes, we have the natural aging and growth, from infant to an old person, but the spiritual evolution is not a constant, and it doesn't follow rules. It's really personal. And I see that, how it can really, it has that material element, and really has an evolutionary spiritual element that we're not seeing, and you're bringing out. And I think this is, for a lot of people, it's the first time they're hearing this.
Yes, you could be right about that, and that is unfortunate. Um, but it is truth, and those who are seeking truth will resonate with that.
Exactly.
Um, what I understand about history is that religions evolve as their teachings are interpreted, adapted, and transmitted across generations, responding to changing cultures, knowledge, human needs. And over time, those core truths are preserved while practices and rituals and dogmas,
Yeah.
um, they shift, allowing faith to remain relevant and meaningful in every era. But it takes time to overcome many of the practices that are so ingrained over those generations. Why does one person practice a certain religion? Because his parents practiced that religion. Why did they practice it? Because their parents practiced that religion. And if it is passed down for so many generations, it must be true. It must be right.
Yeah. You don't even question it because it was taught to
Right.
you from birth. And that's
Exactly.
really dangerous. And I think in my case, I can talk about my experience. Really, when I started questioning not the reality of God, but maybe the dogmas and the structures that didn't make sense, and when you go beyond them and you see God behind them, it makes it so much simpler. And I remember one of the things that Sandra Reinberg has said in the podcast many times is the freedom from fear, the freedom from, because a lot of what, if you're not careful, what the structures do from institutional religion is kind of frame us, and you shouldn't do this because you're going to go to hell. But when you're good, and maybe not, but when you have good intent and you are not, doing evil work, then those boundaries, those shackles and those cages should be erased, so that we're not confined as, maybe cattle, that we need to be herded and controlled. Shoot, if we all, and this is part of what you're saying, if we all have the same religion or the same longing for that loving God, truth, beauty, and goodness, there will be no need for these cages or herd mentality, to confine us and not cause problems.
Correct. And again, this comes back to reaching children at an early, impressionable age, because what you're taught at that age is what they remember. If we can reach children with these teachings at an earlier age, it allows them to absorb those values of compassion and morality and spiritual awareness when their minds are most openable and impressionable. Early guidance helps to instill the lasting foundation that they will need of a ethical behavioral um, sense of connection to something greater than themselves, a sense of community.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so beautiful. And it carries so much responsibility in all, the prior generations, in our case, in any generation, the difference between us and animals is that, a horse is born, and then hours later is already, running and able. But humans are, a baby is born today. If you do not tend to it, if you not move it, the baby will die. I mean, even movement. So, how important it is for us to realize that what we teach children, the ideas, what the scaffolding that we create, especially at that age, is really going to shape the generation. So, how important it is that we fill their minds and their hearts as well with these truths, with these values, and what we're talking about.
Humans need to be raised with guidance, the right type of guidance, discipline, and they need to be loved in order to develop their full moral, intellectual, and spiritual potential. Proper upbringing shapes that character and instills responsibility and prepares individuals to contribute positively to society when they are older. And we don't see a lot of that. We teach more materialistic values at an early age in our society, at least in America. So
Yeah, and in
those are
all of them, I
ideas that,
think, yeah,
well,
and
yeah,
it's a
more and more.
general,
I
yeah,
didn't want to put a label on everybody. I'm gonna
yeah.
claim it.
All right, that's good. Yeah, but I mean, that's something with. We had another conversation with Jimmer, who is a professor, and he's been, teaching for all his life, and he sees that, and he told me, I've seen Asia, I've seen it's not, just for in the United States, it's in everywhere because that's like you were saying, that was part of the evolution where we came from, chaos, fear, but it's time to shed that. It's time to shed our skin and be born again with a new skin and a new perspective of what a unified world is, I believe.
It's something we can't live without, and we won't survive without it if we don't move forward, teaching our children how to relate to one another and live with one another and serve in society and civilization with one another. We're just going to reinforce divisions that ultimately uh, shipwreck civilization. So, new teachings should build on the wisdom of the past while addressing the challenges and opportunities of the present. They can guide humanity toward greater unity and moral clarity and spiritual growth, helping individuals as societies evolve together.
That is really nice, and in the end, it all comes down to a brotherhood. I mean, we're not meant, and the world is not meant to operate individually. It's meant to be lived collectively. And I think as long as we're headed there, and I know it's sometimes stressful. It's sometimes maybe overwhelming, and just may the burden may overpower you. But evolution is a steady process, slow, but it's steady. So eventually we'll get there, and we can see it. I think the important thing is to contribute with our individuality, chipping in with our grain of sand, and collectively trying to live the brotherhood of man. So therefore, we can recognize that there is one God who is the Father of all of us, the Creator.
Yeah, so I mean, keep going. True progress in society and spirituality comes slowly as we evolve, but they do come, and they require lasting change, and they require patience and persistence, and again, cultivation within our children. Each small step that we take toward this foundation builds greater transformation, ensuring that this growth is deep and it's stable and it endures for future
Yeah,
generations.
yeah, yeah. It's not broken easily. Yeah. Well, I think, Ryan, what we learned in this podcast is that although we can, our foundations might have been through fear, through chaos, because that was what was needed in that evolutionary state of our civilization. We have come to realize that, I mean, there are a lot of things that we need to shed in order to come into this new era and this new time where humanity, as you were pointing out, is not only evolving physically, but it's also evolving spiritually. And as long as we realize that evolution has dimensions, it has a mental, a physical, and a spiritual dimension, then we can understand as a whole where we're headed. And we can understand that, as life is, it has its ups and downs. It has sometimes that is it challenges us, but in the end, everything compounds and creates who we are. Even the misfortunes are fortunes in disguise, I believe. So, anything you want to point out before we close?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I enjoyed this, and I look forward to coming back and discussing these issues further.
Yes, we would love. I would love to do that because a lot of people are going to be asking themselves, what else, and how can we take this to a practical way? So I'd really love to have you later at another time, and we can bring some practical information to how people can foster this in themselves. So. Thanks for being here, Ryan. It was a real pleasure. It's real interesting how even in government there is God, and it has to be God. If not, it's hollow and it's abusive. So if we take God out of government, we're in a bad situation. So thanks for showing, teaching us that, Ryan, and thanks everybody for participating, for checking us out. I hope you enjoyed it. Like you say, like I always say, only subscribe if you really liked it. You can also point on the notification so you can see when we're coming and when we're gonna put out something. And if you really liked our conversation, share with other people. Tell them that we're having interesting conversations over here and might inspire them as well. So thank you. I'm Santiago Kneeland. This is The Divine Within. Take care and carpe diem. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.